The NHL has not had a goalie win the Calder since Steve Mason did it back in 2008 to 2009 season. Can Askey break through?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network, we cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do, just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be discussing, exploring, can Askarov be a Calder winner? So we're going to be looking at previous goalies who made their cases to win a Calder and how do they kind of stacked up and what we can kind of pull from them. Expectations for Askarov as he kind of takes the reins as the Sharks goalie. And the Sharks also made a signing with Jakob Skarek to be their third goalie. We're going to dive into him as well. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. All right. We know Celebrini last year did not win, the Calder Trophy for the Rookie of the Year. The good thing is when you have a young core and you have a lot of prospects, is you're going to get plenty of swings at the bat. And this year, the natural subject for the Sharks to kind of put up as a potential Calder Trophy candidate would be young Yaroslav Askarov. Askarov, who's expected to, be the full-time starter for the Sharks this season. And as I've kind of discussed, I think he's going to be on the Dustin Wolf plan of probably, pretty split shares and starts with Nedeljkovic throughout the beginning of the season. And then as the season goes on, wouldn't be surprised if Askarov starts to take the lion's share of starts. So I was curious to see, you and I think, well, at least I think Askarov is probably going to be pretty good, right? How good would Askarov have to be potentially be a Calder finalist? So I did the research for you guys. I looked at all the Calder finalists since way back in 2008 to 2009. The last time the last goalie to win the Calder, which was Steve Mason back in 2008, 2009 with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I looked at every goalie who has finished in the top three for Calder and looked at their stats, kind of their base stats, save percentage. I looked at their games played, their wins. I looked at their expected goals against, and then I looked at the team success. And so let's discuss the goalies who are in this range. So, of course, we have Dustin Wolf, who last year played with the Calgary Flames, finished second in the voting. He played 53 games, had 29 wins, a 910 save percentage with a 264 goals against, 3 shutouts, 11.9 goals saved above expected. And we know the Flames did not make the playoffs last year. Go back to 22-23. Stuart Skinner was also second in the Calder vote. Played 50 games, had 29 wins, 913 save percentage with a 275 goals against, 1 shutout, 6.8 goals saved above expected. Of course, Oilers made the playoffs. You look at Alex Nedeljkovic. This was during the 2020-21 season where it was short and right. That was that 56-game season where you were playing the same 6 or 7 teams over and over again. So a little bit of an asterisk with this season, but still, Nedeljkovic played 23 games that season, had 15 wins, 932 save percentage, 1.9 goals against with 3 shutouts, and a 9.6 goals saved above expected. And, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes made the playoffs, and he finished third that year. Go back to Jordan Binnington. in 2018, 2019. He had 32 games and 24 wins, 927 save percentage, 189 goals against, 5 shutouts with a 6.6 goals saved above expected. And we know what happened to the Blues that season, right? The worst to first turnaround, and of course they win the cup. He finished second that year. Then you have to go way, way back to Jimmy Howard in 2000. Jimmy Howard, like when I saw that name, I was had a flashback. Jimmy Howard in 2009, 2010 finished second in voting. He played 63 games, 37 wins, 924 save percentage, 226 goals against, 3 shutouts with a 9.7 goals saved above expected. And of course, the Red Wings, who were making the playoffs 1,000 years in a row, made the playoffs that year. And then you go to Steve Mason the year before, who won the Calder, 61 games, 33 wins, 916 save percentage, 229 goals against, 10 shutouts with a -5 goals saved above expected. Mason was either shutting you out or he was letting them all in, apparently. But he won the Calder, and of course, the Columbus Blue Jackets made the playoffs that season. So you look at, there's a lot of common denominators there, right? Of course, you have to play well. Your save percentage, et cetera, all have to be good. Goals against, goals saved above expected, but the team success as well, right? The wins and, helping your team make the playoffs is a huge, huge part of it for goalies. And you can argue if wins are a goalie stat or not, kind of like wins are they a QB stat or not, right? But so I kind of was like, well, what does this look like, right? And I originally did the math, kind of looking at the averages, but I ended up throwing out Mason and Howard because of, again, we don't see guys play 60 games, especially rookies, right? We don't see these type of guys play 60 plus games this season unless you're, like Vasilevsky or like one of those type of guys. And you never see rookies play that many type of games in a season. Like the science now tells you it's just not a good idea to keep playing your goalies that much, right? And then I also threw out the Nedeljkovic season because, again, it's such a smaller sample size and you're playing against the same couple. There's too many wonky variables in that season. So I looked at Wolf, Skinner, and Bennington, which, again, all played in the last couple of years, right? 24, 25, 22, 23 season, and the 2018, 2019 season. And these ones, I think, make more sense to look at. So the kind of average between these guys is they end up playing 45 games, which feels realistic for Askarov. About 27 wins, which we'll put a pin in that right now. 917 save percentage, 243 goals against with 3 shutouts, and 8.4 goals saved above expected. So that's kind of what the baseline would have to be for Askarov to be in the running to win the Calder. And, you look at the candidates, and I think Demidov is clearly the favorite. The young Russian winger, he's going to be the favorite to win the Calder. And I think right now, even on FanDuel, they have basically Demidov or the field you can bet right now. But looking at other places and stuff, Demidov is up there. You look at a guy like Zane Parekh, Nichushkin, or Nikishkin from Carolina. Ryan Leonard's going to be in the mix. Zebuyam, Askarov, Michael Misa getting some love as well. But Demidov is going to be kind of the favorite, and I think for him it would have to somebody's going to have to come take it from him, kind of expect, which we saw, right? We Celebrini was a favorite last year, and Lane Hudson came in and took it from him. And you never know with how seasons go. But you see though, kind of the common thing with all these goalies is how they helped turn their play helped turn into team success. And the issue, though, of course, is the Sharks not been a good team as of late. So what should a realistic season kind of look like for Askarov? And, can Askarov overcome these odds to potentially be in the mix for winning the Calder? So we're going to look at some other first round picks and some other players how their first full season in NHL went. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. If you want to go grab tickets to go to the ball game with friends and family, maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands, especially this weekend, right? Giants, Dodgers, you want to go catch a game. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. When the money you save on seats, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. You've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticket partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for exciting upcoming MLB games. Again, Giants, Dodgers this weekend. Big series before we hit the All-Star break. Seems like a great way to hang out this weekend. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON, NHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Today, last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, before we continue, of course, I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. If you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe, even though it's the off season and we are officially down to 3 episodes a week next week. Still going to be pumping out the content. Got plenty of great stuff coming out as we're going to be kind of diving into some of the newest Sharks prospects. Going to be doing the deep dives like we did with the Michael Misa one this week. We'll be going on to Joshua Ravensbergen this week. We're going to be talking about some of the Sharks players and expectations for the upcoming season. So make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. So we know it's going to take a very good, excellent season for Askarov to kind of be in the Calder mix, right? And I think a lot of it does come down to team success. And you saw like basically everybody but Dustin Wolf, those teams were good teams that made the playoffs. And it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg thing, right? Where those good teams, then the goalie kind of pushed them over, or were those teams that were okay and then the goalie made them better? And again, it's a little bit of both, right? It's not like one or the other. And the hope is for Askarov, right, to kind of help lift a team that has, outside of Mackenzie Blackwood, had pretty poor goaltending in the past couple of seasons. And we saw last year, especially before Mackenzie Blackwood got traded, this team can be very competitive in a lot of games if the goaltending is good. And the hope is, right, with Askarov, is that if he can come in and solidify, and this is a huge ask of Askarov, but again, first round pick, he spent a lot of time marinating. You're hoping he can kind of come in and hit the ground running and be that guy. So I tried my best to look at how other first-round picks played in their first season, like first full season in the NHL. And the problem is with Askarov is he's such a weird case, right? Because a lot of these guys kind of broke into the NHL much sooner. Askarov, who's got like 4 full years in the AHL, like he has spent a lot of time marinating in the AHL. So it is a little bit harder. So because he's a little bit older, but I went back and looked at like Spencer Knight, who was broken in the 21-22 year. He was part of the, I believe it was the 2018 or 2019 draft. So pulling it up right now, 2019, 13th overall. So the year before Askarov. Askarov, of course, was in the 2020 draft. Spencer Knight, he playing with the Florida Panthers, who good team at that time. Like they were kind of an up and coming team. He played 32 games, had 19 wins, 908 save percentage with a 279 goals against, 2 shutouts, and 4 goals saved above expected during that time. Like in the 21-22 season. So like pretty, I think much better team around him, of course. And put it up pretty, like if Askarov is a save percentage over 9, we as Sharks fans should be thrilled, because it's been a long time since the Sharks have had a goalie with a save percentage that started with a 9. Jake Ottinger, of course, former first-round pick as well. He played 29 games, 11 wins with a 911 save percentage and 236 goals against average with 1 shutout, minus 4.8 goals against, and that was in the 2020-21 season. Again, that bubble season that we talked about with Nedeljkovic. So with Dallas having to play a lot of those kind of central teams, et cetera, et cetera. You go back to Ilya Samsonov with the Capitals in the 2019-2020 season, where he played 26 games, had 16 wins, 913 save percentage with 1 shutout and a minus 2.3 goals saved above expected. So, looking at these numbers, like if Askarov puts up anywhere around those numbers, I think it would be successful. The problem is, like, all those teams were just much better teams than what the Sharks are currently expected to roll out, right? So I tried to kind of find my best sort of comp of like a guy who's maybe not a first round pick, but a guy who's played a bunch of AHL games, right? Tried to, spent a lot of AHL games, playing kind of on a bad team, or a bad team, not kind of a bad team, but a bad team. And, really, and wasn't kind of in the NHL full time until he was a little bit older. And I think the best one I can come up with was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. So Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was a second-round pick in the 2017 draft by the Buffalo Sabres. Played in the OHL, so a little bit different, as we know. Askarov played in the AHL, or played over in Russia. Sorry, excuse me. Before coming over and kind of breaking in North America. But Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, which is, I just want to say Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as many times as I can. He has he had 69 AHL games to his credit in 5 years, and then 23 games in the ECHL. So about 100 games, like professional games, before really playing in the NHL. With Luukkonen, like, he made his first real, like, he kind of split time in the 21-22 season, where he played like 35 games in the AHL, and then he played like 9 games in the NHL, kind of like Askarov, right? He's played a handful of games here and there. But the 22-23 season, where he spent a majority of time in the NHL, did get a handful of games. 33 games, 361 goals against, 892 save percentage, and 17-11-4 record in that time there. The next season, the 23-24 season, where the Sabres were, a little bit better that year, and they were trying to make a push for the playoffs, right? And kind of things fell apart. 54 games, 257 goals against, 910 save percentage with 5 shutouts, and 27-22-4 record. So I think if you, especially with Askarov, who's a better touted prospect, if you get somewhere near that, maybe not the 54 games, but if you're in that 45 to 50, maybe like a 250, like a 275 goals against, and that like 900 to 910 save percentage with a couple shutouts, I think that's very realistic for Askarov. But unfortunately, unless the Sharks make a massive, massive jump, and because of Askarov, I just don't know if he's going to be in the Calder conversation. because I just don't think the team success is going to be there. And unfortunately, with the goalies, right, it's such a huge part. And even, I mean, we saw it last year with Lane Hudson, right? A lot of, the votes came for Hudson was like, well, look what he did for the Canadians who made it to the playoffs, right? And Dustin Wolf, look what he did for the Flames who just missed the playoffs. And Celebrini, look what he did for the Sharks who continue to be the worst team in the NHL. So, as much as I love Askarov, and I think he's going to have a huge season for the Sharks, I don't know if I'm putting in my $10 on Askarov to win the Calder this year, just because I just don't think the team success will be there for San Jose. But I do think he's going to be a huge boost for the team's success, if that makes sense. So, but yes, so Askarov, I think is going to be great this year. I just don't know if he's going to be in the mix to win the Calder, just because I don't think the Sharks are going to be competitive enough to be in the playoff race. So we're going to switch gears here and talk about a new Shark and Jakub Skarek. So we'll get to that in just 1 second. All right, before we finish up, of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done with this episode, go check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There's no off season. We're bringing you daily league-wide stories that matter the most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, so the Sharks, they found their third goalie. We knew Mike Greer went out of his way to say, like, we want to go get a veteran goalie. They have found their goalie in Jakob Skarek, who only 25. He'll be 26 this upcoming year. But Scarik, I do believe, is a player worth invested in, we'll say. So Scarik is a former third-round pick of the New York Islander and has spent 6 seasons with the Islanders. I know if you look at the stats, like, this is my warning to you right now. If you look at the stats, they aren't pretty, okay? But here's what I'm going to say. Look at the stats from the Sharks goaltenders especially the past couple seasons. They are also not pretty, and Scarik was very much in the same sort of position. The Bridgeport Islanders, woeful. They won 15 games this last season out of 72. 15. He won 5 of those 15 games for Bridgeport. I think this team, if I recall, they only won 4 or 5 games at home. This is one of the worst kind of teams that we have seen as of late. So we know the Islanders are putting more of an emphasis on their AHL team and development, as they should, right? I think we've seen the success, right, of the Barracuda recently, and kind of the resources put at the Barracuda, and we're starting to kind of see some of that pay off, especially last year, right, making a playoff run and making a pretty solid playoff run despite not having some of your top players. I'm forever, ever going to think about if the Barracuda had Podorowski, I think we're talking about a very, very deep playoff run. But anyway, conversation for a different day. So what does Scarik bring? Let's dig into the stats here. And again, hold your nose a little bit, but keep in mind, it's the equivalent of having been stuck on the Sharks the past couple seasons for Scarik. And I believe it is Scarik. I think you kind of slur because he is from Czech Republic. So I think you kind of the announcers I listened to, that's what they said. So anyway, 6'4", 205 pounds, 25. He'll be 26 in November, playing for Bridgeport this year. Got a couple NHL games as well. 22 games, 352 goals against, 884 save percentage, 5 wins, and a shutout. So, I mean, 20% of his wins come via shutout. But and this is a guy who has played a ton of AHL games. He has 161 AHL games under his belt during that time, with an 890 save percentage and a 334 goals against. And again, AHL numbers are going to be a little bit funky because of the nature of the AHL. And we know, again, the Islanders, not the strongest prospect pool as of late. So you would expect to see, a little bit different there. But Mike Greer in his kind of press release, he talked about Jacob has a plethora of professional experience in net at 25 years old. He's a big athletic goaltender with a lot of compete in his game. And my thinking is like you see what type of players Greer and Thomas Spear look for, right? Is big athletic goalies who compete. Look at Georgi Romanov, who's very raw, but like that was Romanov's thing, was super athletic, super big, and the dude competed, right? And we saw how much he, just if you look at Romanov when he first got there versus Romanov left 2 years ago, completely different goalie. You get Thomas Spears, who, again, I'm not trying to kind of diss the Islanders right now, and but development hasn't really been their big thing. And yes, I know they have pumped out plenty of goalies. I know they've pumped out plenty of goalies in there, but I think with Thomas Spears, like you get your hands on this guy, I think he can be exactly what you're looking for right now, is a guy who's going to, share the load in the AHL. And that's what you want him to do, especially right now. Like you have Gabe Carrier, who's on an NHL deal. You have Matt Davis, who's on an AHL deal. And I assume Davis is probably going to start in the ECHL next year and probably get some AHL games, right? I think for Scarik here is he's going to play mostly with the Barracuda. If Nedeljkovic or Askarov get hurt, Scarik, he's going to be able to come in and play a few games for you. And I don't think he's going to he's not going to poop the bed, right? And that's what you want. You just want a guy who's not going to kind of come in and poop the bed for you and not just totally sink you. So, and I think that's exactly what he is. Like he is, I think, the very good option as a third goalie for your organization. A guy who has played a lot of games, maybe not gotten a lot of playoff opportunities here. But again, you look at Bridgeport and just like the Barracuda, right? The Barracuda had not gone to the playoffs this decade until this season. So we expect the Barracuda to return to the playoffs again this year. But I think for a guy who's done, basically whatever you could ask for in the regular season, I think he'll be a perfect veteran, which is crazy to say as a guy who's 26, but he's played so much hockey that I think he's going to be a really nice option for Gabe Carrier to kind of lean on here. So I know some people are like, well, go get a better goalie. Like, what goal? Like it's an AHL goalie. Like if it was a star AHL goalie or an all-star AHL goalie, one, they're probably really young or probably part of a team's future, like an Askarov, right? Or two, they're probably signed already or going to be in the NHL here soon. Like I think just getting a guy who's going to hopefully be in a better situation, surround him with better talent, and give him an opportunity with a guy like Thomas Spears, who we've seen countless times already resurrect a lot of careers in a short period of time, right? Look at Mackenzie Black. People hated the Mackenzie Blackwood trade, and now people are mad that the Sharks traded Mackenzie Blackwood, right? Devin Cooley in his small amount of time here raved about Thomas Spears. I think this is, again, it has potential to work out pretty nicely for the Sharks. And the hope is you actually never see him in the NHL because Nedeljkovic and Askarov don't get hurt, and those guys can split 82 games. But if he has to come in and he has to back up for you for a little bit, or he has to come in and play some mop-up duty, I don't think he's going to totally embarrass you and sink any chances of you winning type of scenarios. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back on Monday. I think we're talking celebrating on Monday. We haven't talked enough celebrating this offseason, so we're going to rectify that. Maybe we're talking celebrating. I forget what we're doing. I have a whole calendar. We're talking celebrating at some point soon. So anyway, make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at MyFryHole. Until Monday, bye, friends.